Yes, Glenda, what does Black history mean to you?
Black history is about our culture, our history, where we come from. Music, we've heard a lot of that today. It takes us right back to what they call our roots.
Yes, I'd like to thank Skank for his DJ slot just then. It's been a long time since I've heard reggae music. It's been a long time since I've seen Skank as well. I didn't even recognise him. I didn't recognise him with his grey beard. It's been a while. But I appreciate the music that you just did. It's put me in a good mood.
And his name's Father A.
And it's Father A, sorry, Father A.
Yeah. If he wants to come and speak as well, you know, you can sit down in 2 minutes, Dad. Yeah. So Shawn come.
Yes, it's good to see you again. You all right? So, Glenda, your children, they're mixed race?
Yes, they are.
And have you taught them about Black history?
Yes.
And what have you taught them?
Well, they can see from where they come from. Most of you know my son, Rebs. So I think Black history is in you. It doesn't matter what colour of your skin is. I just think that the music, everything these days, there's a mixture of all kinds of genre that comes into our children. Like yourself, you've got children. We were born here in the UK, Preston, raving, the music, and I think we've come a long way since the 60s when we were born, Adrian, as you can see by your age.
Very good, Glenda, but I'll always be younger than you. You say that we've come a long way, but if you look in the news lately, especially in the football, there's been a lot of racism going on. Some people would say that we haven't come a long way at all. Have you been aware of what's going on in the news lately?
As you're aware, I don't do much news. I tend to stay away from the news because I find that the more that you look at that kind of stuff, you attract it. I understand there is racism. I understand that people have issues. And as we said at the meeting the other night, I think people need to open up their hearts more, understand a little bit more about where we all come from, what we all like, what we don't like, and have a little bit of respect for each other. Tell me about the news.
A lot of footballers have been using the N-word to describe each other or to slag each other on the pitch. John Terry was involved in an incident where he racially abused a black footballer who decided that he was going to complain about it. It went to court. He was found not guilty. And then he's been found guilty by the Football Association for using racial terms.
Why do you think this always happens then? Because nobody's doing anything. Well, they are doing something about it, but nothing.
Well, apparently they've got Let's Kick Racism Out of Football scheme going on. But a lot of the black footballers were protesting yesterday by not wearing the T-shirts because they don't think the Let's Kick It Out of Football is doing enough for it. Talking about the meeting we had the other day with the police, the police are surprised that in the last 30 years in Preston, we've had two black police officers. Now, I'm shocked that they're surprised that there's only been two black police officers. You was there at the meeting the other night. How did you think it went?
The meeting was very good, and as you're aware, the time goes very, very quickly. It was very interesting. There was a lot of personal stories that were aired, and the police did assure us that they would look into those after the meeting. I do think, though, that, as I mentioned that night, people need to know more about their rights and what they're entitled to do, say, and be. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Then the next one we do is going to be about your rights, and so when people are stopped by the police, that they do know whether they can give the name and the address and everything else, and just make sure that the police are policing them properly.
Yeah, I think that's it, isn't it? It's like you said. I mean, I wonder if those that are listening, how many of our young people would join the police force? You mentioned that night. and we're celebrating Black history.
My generation from the 80s, I can't see any of them.
You'd make a good police officer.
I would never make a good police officer.
You would make a good police officer.
Why?
Education, where you've come from, your experiences. Why wouldn't you go into the police? You don't have to be a police officer beating the streets, but you could have some input within the police. Well, you do.
Yeah, Glenda, I'm 50 years old. I wouldn't want to start being a police officer now. I wouldn't feel comfortable being a police officer.
Why wouldn't you feel
I wouldn't have even felt being comfortable being a police officer 30 years ago.
Yeah, but you work with the police.
Doesn't mean I want to be a police officer.
So
I work with women. I wouldn't want to be a woman.
I bet you would.
Not even for a minute.
No, but seriously. For the young people, why would you say, why would they want to go into the police?
I'm a different generation. The views that I have about the police are about the same as everybody else in my generation, what we've seen growing up. I wouldn't want to put myself in that position.
So
It's bad enough leaving the house being disliked by different races because you're black, but then you leave your house with that uniform on and you've got everybody else hating you as well. That's what I've got in my head, so that's why I won't make a good police officer.
So
But maybe looking at you, Glenda, actually you look like you'd look good in a police uniform.
I'd love to have been in the police force, but as I told you the other night, it wasn't something that was...
So why would you not want to be one?
Because I want to do different things now.
No, but I'm talking about our generation.
Well, when I was younger, I did want to go into the RAF, the
RAF.
The RAF, but my mum said no.
And did you ever consider being a police officer?
No.
But that's what I'm trying to say to you. Why?
But I wanted to go into the...
But why wouldn't you have been a police?
It was the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, but it was the
So
same
the
thing.
difference...
It wasn't because they weren't taking us, but I was also, by family, it wasn't considered because of the colour of your skin. Because I was black, you can't go in the police force, you can't be a nurse, really.
You
know
can't
what I
be
mean?
a nurse because you're black?
No, if you're black, you can go into the medical profession and be a nurse or an auxiliary. Those other types of jobs were not seen for people like us. I mean, we came into the type of work we did, which was with the race relations.
Community work, yeah.
And with the community. And without that kind of work, you won't be here where you are today. Or me. We got some, what do you call it?
We first started in 1983 as interviewers. We was interviewing the black community in Preston.
Now that takes us back.
Right, to find out what the problems were because of the riots in the 80s, they didn't know what to do with young black people because they thought they were all crazy because of rioting. So they decided to find out what was going on in Preston to calm the black people down. So when we did our interviews, it was to find out from the community what they wanted, and what they wanted was a community centre. So we got a unity centre after. I don't know if you were aware of that.
Yes.
Through our interviews that we did, the unity centre.
Yes.
And when we had the unity centre, we'd average about 30 or 40 young black people in there,
Yes.
and which kept them out of jail. Some of them were going to jail an average of 3 times a year. And when they had the Unity Centre, it cut right down. And talking about black history and black man time, he is one who can't keep time. Shawn Ross, right on cue, about 2 hours late. So when we first started the community work, that's what our work did. We got ourselves a community centre.
But when you think 1983,
yeah, it's 30 years ago now.
and we're still talking about race.
We're still talking about the same stuff that was talking.
But don't you think it'll always be there?
But at the start of this interview, you said that things have changed.
They have.
But you've just said just now, we started community work 30 years ago, and we're still talking about the same. Just wait, we're still talking about the same things we talked about 30 years ago. So how can things have changed?
Because we're older. You're older.
Just
You're
wait.
No,
I'm the only one who's aged in 30
No,
years.
we're older. We are older. We're wiser. We have children ourselves.
But things haven't changed, though.
Of course they have. How we...
Well, just wait.
Let
If
me
you
fin-
just
no, you're not letting me
if you're telling me things have
Typical man.
changed, then tell me where they changed, because some people don't see it.
Okay. When we was younger, I think that our parents were more protective of us for us to venture out and gain, you know, like for going out clubbing, or we were kept close together within the community.
I think the black women were kept inside more than the black men.
I don't think so.
I can look around here. I see these guys out all the time. Nothing stopped them from going out.
Black women go out.
I didn't see that. Just wait. We've got a guy in the studio who's
Black
not
women
on
did go out.
camera. Did you, Mr. Linton? Did you see any? Can you remember seeing any black women out
I'm
of
sure-
our age group?
I'm sure Mr. Linton saw many black women.
Only one or two. There wasn't.
Yes, but it was different then. I mean,
That's what I'm saying,
I
Glenda.
mean, yes, but we all were part of the same community.
Yeah.
Everybody knew everybody.
Yeah.
Now we have it that it's more mixed. You started and mentioned like we have mixed race children or of black and white, right? There is a more broader
Go on.
in people like black and white. We mix more, whereas we tend to mix with our own. We went to Met, we hang around together, and then introduced him through our music, which is quite significant, through our music and the things that we like to do. Other people within our community, white, Asian, came in and the group broadened out. There are things like that have changed, subtly, but it's true. You know what I mean?
I don't see it as much as you do. I understand what you're
Maybe
saying.
that's because you're focused more on it,
On what?
on the racial issues.
I'm not focused on
I
racial
tend not
issues. I'm aware of racial issues.
Yes, but you're in it
But
more.
you just said before that you're not aware of racial issues.
I am.
Because
I am aware.
you don't watch the news.
No, I said I don't.
I tell you
tend
what,
to
Glenda, you're
listen
doing a
to
lot of
this.
contradiction on this interview. I'm gonna have to rewind it just to
Listen,
prove what you.
listen, all
listen
I'm
to me.
saying
No,
is-
just wait.
All-
I'm
no,
listening
let
to
me
you.
finish,
I'm
let me
listening to you,
let me
right?
finish. I knew you was going to be
No, I'm
controversial.
not gonna be
I knew he was.
controversial.
Do you know that?
I listen to
No,
you, but
let
you're
me say-
contradicting yourself
no,
half
I'm
the
not
time. Okay, go ahead.
contradicting
Go
myself.
ahead.
What I'm trying to say is,
Yeah.
for me personally,
Yeah.
I just think that people need to be more open. Yes, we are all aware of racial issues, right? What I'm trying to say is, love yourself first, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you love yourself first, you won't look at someone else because of the colour of his skin. If you've got issues with someone about colour, right, or whatever, it could have what it could, you know what I mean? What type of job he does, or because he's a police officer, you will treat that person differently. But we do have people in our society, in our community, who don't think like that, don't feel like that for whatever reason. And then we're going into another subject.
Yeah, but you've got to look at why they feel like that and think like
Yes, you do. But how are you going to fix that?
that. You can't, because if they've been on a certain journey, and that journey's not been kind to them, where they face a lot of racism, where they face a lot of barriers, where people are stopping them from getting a job, getting an education, just getting on with life. If they've had that kind of journey, you can't blame that individual. Just wait. You can't blame that individual for feeling a certain way, because if you haven't travelled in his shoes, then you shouldn't point your finger.
I'm not pointing fingers.
It sounds like you point your finger to me.
No, sweet.
Okay. Go on, is there anything else that's bothering you?
No,
How long
wait
have we
till
got, by the way? Shawn, you can take over from me. Shawn was supposed to be here about half an hour ago. He kept saying he would be round the corner. He'd take 2 minutes. And Shawn's 2 minutes takes about half an hour. But here's Shawn Ross. Thanks, Glenda.
Thank you,
Enjoy-
Adrian.
Yeah. That's true. Hello.
Hiya. I know his
Mrs.
mum.
Hello, Ms. Jackson. Good afternoon.
Good
How are
afternoon,
you?
Shawn. I'm okay, thank you.
Okay then. So what have I missed?
Well, Adrian as usual.
I'm late 20s. One would certainly imagine that it's definitely been different to yours, and perhaps yours and some of the people in this room. Growing up racially, to be honest with you, I was one of these people who I was brought up, in church, and I was the only black boy at school, at any of the schools that I went to, pretty much. I don't think that any sort of racial issues became a problem in my life. I think I was aware of them, but they were just water off a duck's back, I think, with the innocence of youth. What I've realised from my own experiences and from others' experiences is that when I became a man, others saw that I was a man, and I wanted more than perhaps some of my peers, whether they be white or black. That seemed to be a problem for a lot of the people here, and that seems to be when problems start. So when you're in education or when people are trying to get ahead in jobs, I definitely think there's a huge barrier there for black people, black men especially, that can't be ignored, especially especially by our own people. With all due respect, I don't know what you think to that.
No, I'm interested in hearing what you say, because I do think, as for men particularly, I find that they get a raw deal. And I mean, you're in your late 20s, so but don't you think that, like you said just before, you didn't realise until you was older. You was aware when you was younger, but not until you got older that it was apparent.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah,
But
I mean, a lot of my friends, a lot of my close friends growing up have been white. You know, we rarely ever had any racial issues. You know, whether we were out or whatever else and stuff. You know, I haven't.
But this is another thing that I was saying before. You see, you were able to mix with others in your community, with white people, call it white people, English people, Asians. When I was growing up, we would tend to be with our own community in church, or in the youth club. Do you get what I mean? So there's not as much tension with your immediate community, would you say? Do you get what I mean?
Tension with my immediate
No,
community.
because everybody's getting on with each other. Like in school, like you
Okay.
said, you was the only black child in
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
So you had friends who was English.
Yeah.
Are you with me?
No, to be honest, I couldn't tell you if they were friends or not, because my mum didn't let me outside other than school hours.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, I was at school and got onto any naughtiness at school, and then as soon as I got home, that was it. The door didn't open up again till morning till the morning after. So I don't really know what was going on outside, to be honest with you. You know, I don't know if I had any really good friends at school. But like I say, it only became a problem. This whole white and black thing seemed to only be apparent and make itself prevalent when I wanted more. So it happens in jobs, not just myself. There seems to be a systematic winding up, a provocation, of black men sometimes in certain jobs when they get into jobs. So it's not a problem if they're not getting jobs. It's a problem of once they're in the jobs, it's incredibly difficult to stay in there. Because I would imagine that some of the people who are already there are thinking, well, why are you here? Why my cousin could be doing this job, my brother, my uncle could be doing this job, and there's a little systematic winding up of that individual until he either loses it, somebody tells a lie on him, or whatever else, and then he's out of that job, and it's very difficult for them to pick themselves up. You know, we are strong individuals as black men, but I mean, you know, we're not. What's the word? We're not completely indestructible, you know. And I would imagine it gets an awful lot of people down. The more rejection you face, the more winding up and provocation that you face, till the point of where we are. The stats are there. You know, for black men, we don't make up a huge part of this country, but the ones that are here, for some reason, we've got massive unemployment issues now. I don't understand that. I don't know if you can explain that, but I don't understand that.
I don't know about, because I moved from Preston, so I have travelled a bit. Now in London, you'll find that it's a big difference. When you walk into the supermarket, you're going to see another black face, a lot of black faces. Where here in Preston, you walk into the supermarket, you might spot two, and then you know who they are. So I see the difference there, depending on the region where you live. Yeah, I've travelled to Italy, France, Holland, where black people are treated differently, and that in my opinion, comes from where they come from. It's not about race because they're a particular colour. It's mainly because of the political issues. That's my own experience from where I came, especially when I went to Italy, and I lived in Italy, and people used to say, "Oh well, in Italy it's more racist," or I never found that, you know. For me, I don't really see. I don't walk into a place, or if I'm looking for work and walk around and think, well, he doesn't like me because the colour of my skin. I don't pay attention to it. Maybe that's my thing. I don't have it. Do you get what I mean?
I understand.
But I know that people do. I know that when I lived in London, I had a friend. She was from Nigeria. Yeah, and my children, my eldest, sorry, he was only little, and we were going to school, and the way I was aware that how people treated her, mainly because how she spoke, because. You know, and she said, but why do they treat that? Why do they talk to you differently than they talk to me? But I knew it was because she was from Nigeria. So people judged her because she was African.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, when I lived in Italy, they would say, oh, you're beautiful, you're beautiful. Are you related to Michael Jackson? Do you know Bob Marley? Well, it was because they had an image given to them about what they expected me to be. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't know you, but people are given an image and presume that they judge you and they don't even know you just by. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Certainly. I mean, I can't come from a female perspective, but as you were saying earlier, though, I think one of the problems is people are experiencing racism. I think children are experiencing it in schools. I think adults are experiencing it in the workplace. What I think a lot of the problem is that people can't necessarily identify it. It's a very difficult thing to be able to identify, a very difficult thing to be able to provide evidence of. So it's very easy for people, even from the black community, to say, nah, you're being a little bit too sensitive there. And it's very easy for people who are experiencing it to not say anything. And I think that's happening an awful lot. You know, fortunately, we've got laureates, you know, from the black community who've written about this. And speak about it regularly, and I think that's one of the biggest things is the fact that people don't feel that they can, you know, I think that they know that they're experiencing it, but because there isn't any tangible proof necessarily, it's just the odd remark here, the odd action here, or the lack of an action here.
But I definitely agree. I agree though. If you feel, and I'd say this to anybody, for whatever situation you're in, if you believe that you're being treated unfairly, you have to do something about it, don't you think? Do you get what I mean? Do so. You can say something to somebody. Don't. What do you think?
To whom exactly?
To who?
Yeah.
Well, if you're a child and you feel you're being victimised because of the colour of your skin or racism, who would you speak to first? Your parents.
Yes. Okay.
You've got to speak to your parents.
And from there, what can the parents do?
Well, you've got.
Glenda, can I ask you, if your child comes to you and says, "No, I'm experiencing racism in school,"
I'd go to the school.
and what?
I'd speak to the school.
What would you expect to happen?
Well, I understand from there are procedures in place in the schools in Preston that it is. I mean, you might be able to clarify on this. It has to be noted with the authorities, doesn't it? If another child has called another child, a black child, the N-word, for example.
You can say it. It wasn't called the N-word when you was at school, Glenda. Say what it was called.
Right, okay. If a child calls a black child nigger, it has to be reported. The school has a... I'm trying to think of the word.
Well, they've got a duty to
They've got a duty to report it.
Okay.
So maybe a lot of people are aware of that, yeah? That you have to say something. I've always said that to my children. Anything, you know? If you're not happy, tell me, and we'll do something about it. That's something else. But that's my personal opinion. Not everybody's the same. And I think I learned from my growing up, you know, that if there was something not right at school, my dad would go up to the school, you know.
Can I just change the subject a little bit?
Yeah.
Just to ask you both a question. Shawn, as a young black man, what is it with your generation of black men that always seem to go into relationships with white women?
Hold on.
I don't believe you.
And to you, Glenda, there's a lot of black women out there who are not looking at black men anymore. They're going straight to white guys. I'm just asking, you know, In the old days, it was taboo. You couldn't do it and get away with it. But things, like you said, things have
to
changed
do it and get away
progressed.
with it.
So what is it about your generation, Shawn, and your generation of black women?
But your
that-
generation...
Can I just finish? That don't seem to find their own race attractive anymore.
I disagree with that. I disagree.
In what way? Sorry.
Just 'cause you're not on camera.
Are you in a relationship?
I am in a relationship.
Is it? Can I just ask what race he is?
He's English.
Excuse me.
He's English.
Human.
English is in white English or black English?
White.
Oh, he's white. Okay, that's my point. What? Do you not find black men attractive anymore?
I think black men are very attractive.
How come you can't seem to find one? Is there no good black men out there?
I don't think it's to do with whether he's black or white. And we've had this discussion many, many, many times before.
Just wait. It's the first time I've ever asked a question in my life since I've known Shawn, and Shawn's gone quiet.
Okay, well, let Shawn answer the question.
What is it, Shawn?
Right, okay. It's a very difficult one, but I'm going to attempt to answer it.
Please do.
Meaning no offence to anybody
No,
else.
no.
And
We're all adults in here.
Trying to be completely and utterly honest.
We appreciate that.
Okay. Well, personally, when I'm at home and I'm wondering about the plight of black men, sorry, I'll just give these guys a second. When I'm at home wondering about the plight of black men and the plight of our brothers, I'm wondering, I too wonder this. I think to take the stereotypical black man, I've said this a lot, physically, we seem to be fairly impressive to look at. We're athletic. We have parts of our anatomy that seem to be more suitable than perhaps other denominations of society. I'm being completely,
Shawn,
honest.
Are you bragging or complaining? I'm not sure.
No. What I'm doing here is I'm raising the profile. So I do wonder. Academically, we seem to be, ahead musically. Where we seem to be talented. I mean, it seems that the black man has pretty much everything. So
why are you all going out with white women? That's the question. I wasn't saying how fabulous you all are, because I know that.
Because why is it? I'm not. Okay. Well, I mean, here are some of the views that some people offer. Some of the views is that perhaps a lot of white women have slightly looser morals, which appeals to the promiscuous nature of the young black male.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Oh,
Shawn.
I don't
Carry on. No, don't let me stop you.
What is that?
No, carry on. No, you said you were going to give an honest opinion. I asked the question. You're giving me the answer. Carry on.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's not just black men who say that, but I mean, an awful lot of foreign men come to this country, and I think it's pretty much universally understood that people will say that white women are okay to go out with, but not okay to marry. And I think that what started happening with the black man is that they started to marry. And it's causing massive problems because, like I said, one of the things from that is a split up of the family unit. So there's an awful lot of black men who I know have had children with white women, and for some reason, sooner or later, after not a very long time, their family unit seems to be broken up. And the fathers are estranged.
Just to balance it out a little, and I agree with some of the things that you're saying, there are black men who've had children with black women and it's still broken up. And they still, and still carry on to have children and still break up and still carry on to children and still break up. It's not just
No, it doesn't seem to be. But what I'm saying to you is that it seems to be that the black men who are only falling for the white women, that seems to be the dynamics of their family, of how it seems to be going. And I think that's a huge problem at the minute. I'm not too sure. I think that in the youth, in your youth, like you say, it's forbidden fruit. People want to explore, and perhaps as you get older, like I was saying to you earlier, race didn't seem to be a problem whilst growing up until you get to a certain age. And then you get to a certain age, you start to recognise it, and perhaps you allow that to affect you. It might start to get you down. And I think that white women don't know how to necessarily support black men through those phases because they don't understand what it is exactly that's going on. And possibly that's why there's an awful lot of getting together when when the people are younger, but not so much in the later years. For some reason, that's what I find. I don't know how you find it in your generation, but that's certainly what I seem to find now.
Okay, Glenda,
Wow.
do you agree with what Shawn just said?
I know that a lot of people think like that. A young lad was only saying to me the other day, I don't know if he was joking or if he was serious, but he did say, I wouldn't pick someone like my mother, and she's black. But I think that's because the gentlemen or the men want to do what they want to do, when they want, and that's why they prefer, and that's why they say they prefer a white lady. And I'm sorry, but even after all these years, so it's a shame that we still have to think like that.
Can I again just balance it out a little bit? From my experience, and I've been engaged 5 times to black and white, I treated everybody the same.
But we shouldn't. This is another thing I keep saying. Why do we have to look at colour? When you met your partner or your wife, did you look at her and go, "Oh, she's white"? No, you didn't.
No, I looked at them for just wait. I looked at them for like I do when I look at most women and think.
Yeah, but what I'm saying,
I'm going to do some stuff to her.
Do you see? And this
it's funny. It's funny, but I mean that's half the
no.
problem.
But this
but you're asking me.
And this is why.
You're asking me a question.
No, let me say something. No, this is why.
Yeah.
Right, when you say things like that, Adrian, right, people, black men or white men, will think that you're being chauvinistic, and that you give them an impression that when you look at a woman, that's all you want from them.
Most black guys who are young and growing up don't look at a woman and think, I'm going to.
Yeah, but you give that impression.
No, we think one thing.
Well, but not all men.
I've got to disagree with you.
Not all men think like that.
Well, just wait. Shawn grew up in the church, so in the church they probably taught him how to respect.
We don't even want to go into religion.
No, not
But
not
I'm saying to you that me, as a black man growing up, and even now, when I look at a woman, well, not now because I'm married, but before that, if I looked at a woman, I wasn't thinking about anything else but what I wanted to do to her.
Yeah, but
and just wait, and I would say that 95% of men that I know, when they look at a woman for the first time and they find her attractive, they're not thinking about anything else but the kind of things that they want to do.
Well, I'm just saying, as a woman,
yes.
Maybe we're not aware that men are like that, but
well,
I think
if you're not, you're very naive.
Well, I'm not naive because I'm 49 years old, and I think
you're
I'm
49-year-old
quite aware now, right, that at the end of the day, what I want to say is this.
Go on.
When I look at a man, or if I've met a man, the last thing, even when I was 19 years old, was the colour of his skin. Yeah, I take people for who they are.
What was you thinking then when you saw
Just
them?
take people for...
Yeah, but what was you thinking?
I just take them for who they are. Either they're a good singer or they're a good mover, they can dance. Do you know what I mean?
Stop a second. When you looked at a man, regardless of his colour,
Adrian,
was you thinking sexual?
No.
You wasn't?
No. Don't forget, I was brought up in the church as well.
Glenda, just because you're brought up in the church doesn't mean that you're holding
Listen, we're discussing black history, right? And I'm saying to you, in my opinion, my personal opinion, I don't look at a man and think, oh, he's black or he's white or he's Asian. Yeah? It's not the first thing.
That's what I'm saying to you. And I'm saying to you that
you're saying that.
No, I'm saying to you when a black man looks at a woman, he's not looking at her colour, he's not looking at her religion, he's looking at a few things that he's thinking what he wants.
But not all men, black men.
I say 95% of men.
Are they? Not all, but
not all, but 95% of them.
You want to say something for the black?
I wouldn't mind saying a few words.
And the older.
Go ahead.
It gives me
he's not that much older than me, by the way.
Gives me a great pleasure to come all the way from London, link up with Shotta TV. I would like to say welcome to the show. And I want to get in this argument, not a lot of it. I just want to do a short moment because I'm going off to London. So, first thing I'd like to big up is my suit. My suit is the Lion of Judah and it's for Black history. A few things I've heard mentioned, and I personally going to speak a little of my opinion. It make no difference if you're white, black, pink, green, or whatever. It's your life. Your life, yeah? But both parties, people, like their people, the white people and the black people. If there's a black man and a white man, them give the two of them such a dirty look. Yeah. So they don't know who's who. The black man will get it from them black man. The white girls will get it from the white people. They'll say, what you doing with the nigga like that? What you do with him? Are you gone on the other side? Well, I don't believe in any side. There's only one side. I don't believe in on one side. I love. We only have one life to live in this earth.
I think maybe back in the old days I think it's more acceptable. I think it's more of a shock when you see a black man with a black woman and a black. Do you not? Okay. Maybe I've got it wrong.
Maybe a lot of them was scared.
Adrian, for you, yeah, it might be that's the way it is. But for
That's the way it was, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But for a lot of us, right, a lot of us are, and we believe that we are all one, and we don't look at who or what you have, what colour
Yes,
you have.
we are all one, but we don't get treated the same.
Yes, but yes, all right, then we don't get treated. Why do we not get treated?
Because that's the way we are as human beings. That's the way the world is. Women don't get treated the same.
Right,
Men
but-
don't get treated. Go on, just wait.
Sorry,
go on,
are you saying the way that we get treated here in England as black people is...
I think in the world nobody gets treated the same. Nobody.
So you
Oh, anyway,
always
you mean in
think-
terms of a class
yeah,
divide.
yeah,
So before a race
So you
divide,
will
Before
always-
race,
class divide.
anything, if we all get treated the same,
All right, can I
then we
tell
won't have
you
the problems we have.
So, can I? I've either lost my train of thought, but what I'm saying is, so how are you going to get past all this?
Maybe I can't get past it. Maybe this.
Right.
Maybe this.
And this is
this
what
pro-
I will
may-
say.
This maybe because we're all scarred.
We will never give up the
You
fight.
can.
We won't
I
give up
won't
the
give it
fight.
a fight. I'm
Yeah?
actually.
What
I'm
you
not-
fighting for?
For the next generation
For
of black
equality.
people and
What
white
you
people.
fight-
Exactly.
What you fighting for?
For
I'm
love
fighting for
and you to
equality.
make people know that it's not all about color skin. The next generation of
Exactly.
people, right? Young people, you're gonna find out they're not gonna look at people for their
That's
color.
what I
They're
want
gonna
to
find
live to
out
see. Exactly.
it's in bridging, yeah. And if him
Yes.
same is bridging, and if it's a blue bridging him have, he's in bridging. So
Yeah.
That's
you're
right.
gonna have to learn. And I
You gotta love
suppose
yourself.
the more people travel, open your mind and speak to all different
Thank
people, and you'd learn a lot more. You know, just don't close up yourself and say, "Oh, I don't like them." You don't know. They might be saying the same thing about you,
But don't
you
you
need
think?
to.
Sorry to interrupt you, but don't you think as well? You have to be open. But if you can't love, I'm coming from my PSG, right? And I've learned in the last 3 to 5 years, if you don't love yourself, and if
Then
you
you
don't,
can't love anyone.
and you can't love anybody
one.
else,
That's
it doesn't
right.
matter.